Oh, this is so cool. Oh my goodness, look how awesome this is.
Well, I got the chance to play the open beta for Star Wars Battlefront recently, so I thought I'd share my initial impressions. First of all, understand that I'm a total Battlefront noob. I've played maybe an hour of the Battlefront 2 game from 2005, but I didn't really get into it. Mostly I'm coming at the new DICE Battlefront game as a big Star Wars fan and a Battlefield fan. So that said, anyone concerned that this game is just Battlefield in the Star Wars universe, don't worry, it's not. And anyone who really wants this to be a Battlefield in the Star Wars universe, sorry, but it isn't. Presentation-wise, Battlefront totally succeeds, especially as a beta. In fact, being so close to release, this feels more like a polished demo. I mean, it's way less glitchy than the Battlefield 4 beta was, and it looks and runs great in general, which shouldn't be too surprising at this point, considering that Battlefield 4 uses the same Frostbite 3 engine, and it's been out for, 2 years now? The graphics are stellar, and I get a consistent 60 or so frames per second, even on my 2-year-old PC on ultra settings. Beyond that, seeing these all too familiar locations recreated in the best fidelity yet is just amazing. It's so fun to see this world come alive once again, and to be able to run through the icy hallways of the Rebel base on Hoth, or to see the vistas of canyons on Tatooine. These places have never looked better, and it's all very true to the original trilogy.
You trying to desert us?
I mean, I can vividly remember taking down walkers in Shadows of the Empire back in 1996 and being blown away by the graphics back then. Since that moment, it seems like each subsequent Star Wars game takes a crack at this same scene, but this is the first one that I've felt really nailed that movie feel, at least for the ground battles. The Rogue Squadron series did do a pretty good job with aerial and space battles. If I'd seen video of this game back in '96, I think I would have lost my mind. The vehicles and weapons all carry that same polished level of detail and have that beaten up, guts on the outside look to them too. It's also worth mentioning that the particle effects of blaster fire hitting objects and explosions are all modeled after the movie effects, and this touch really pulls you into the Star Wars universe. It feels like movie magic. And as DICE are the masters of FPS audio design, it should come as no surprise that Battlefront, even in beta form, just sounds amazing. Everything sounds just pristinely Star Wars, with really neat touches like an almost underwater sound when you activate shields. The explosions, especially from things like the thermal imploders, are super impressive, and they shake the ground in a wide impact area. The sound effect reminds me a lot of the sonic charges in Rogue Squadron. It's not constant, but every now and then the John Williams music does make an appearance, like when you get a hero pickup and spawn as Vader or Luke. I think this is probably a good decision, as having constant music would probably get old, at least eventually. Game modes in the beta include 2 multiplayer modes, Walker Assault and Drop Zone, as well as 1 single-player mode, Survival, which you could also play as co-op. Like Conquest and Battlefield, the bread and butter of this game seems to be the Walker Assault mode. These huge battles center around the rebels needing to destroy 2 approaching AT-ATs. To do so, however, you actually need to know what you're doing. First, you gotta activate uplinks so that Y-Wings can come in and bomb the shielding off of the walkers. Then, during a very short window, you have to attack the walkers with everything you have, including all your aircraft if you can find any. Now, because of the sequential nature of the mode, it requires teammates who really know what the hell they're doing, which seems to be kind of at odds with the game's general simplicity and mass appeal. Oh, and by the way, you can take the walkers down with a harpoon and tow cable, but apparently once you've launched a harpoon, you don't actually have to fly around the walker's legs. You just have to survive a quick time sequence to take the walker down. Okay, I don't care what kind of game it is. If there's one modern gaming convention that can go straight to hell, it's QuickTime Events! To be fair, there are so many other obstacles in the way that you'll probably not even be able to do a tow cable takedown. And those obstacles are what makes this mode feel a little restricting and sort of against the whole open sandbox gameplay that makes Battlefield games so fun. Coming from a Battlefield background, I was expecting a DICE FPS set in the Star Wars universe to feel like a Battlefield game set in the Star Wars universe, but that's really not the case. The presentation is on the same level as Battlefield 4, but the gameplay feels very different, and it seems much more accessible and simplified. The movement of the characters is a bit more arcadey. You can switch to a very good third-person camera at any time, and blasters definitely feel different from the guns of Battlefield. Now, for one thing, they aren't ammunition-based, they're based on heat buildup. So continuously firing a blaster for a period of time causes it to eventually overheat and stop working. It's then just a matter of waiting for it to cool off before blasting away again. There is an active cooling trick that you can do by hitting R when the indicator falls into this yellow area, and this instantly cools off your weapon, but I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, it only takes a few seconds for even an overheated weapon to cool off, and at most it seems like this active cooling feature might save you, I don't know, a second or so, but if you miss the yellow area, it actually takes even longer to cool off, so it's kind of a better strategy to just leave it alone altogether. In addition, blasters lack the customization of a game like Battlefield 4. I know I railed on it for its out-of-control customization, from countless different camo paints to tons of attachments. Battlefield 4 was overwhelming, and many of the mods you could add to your weapon were just aesthetic. They didn't have any real function. Besides that, I'm convinced that so much content contributed to the bugs that everyone encountered and still encountered today. Now here in Battlefront, it looks like there are no weapon mods at all, which is oddly disappointing. I mean, we don't need 1,000 different options for every weapon, but at least being able to change the sights or mod the scopes would be nice. As it is, in the beta at least, the only blaster that doesn't have a scope is the heavy automatic blaster. Now, because the presentation is so good, it's actually a little disappointing to me that there isn't going to be a dedicated single-player campaign. Okay, I mean, yes, the campaigns in Battlefield games were kind of superfluous, and the ones that they did make were either terribly linear or broken or usually a bit of both. But I don't know, some kind of single player besides fend off the waves of enemies seemed like something they could have done for this game. One thing I really don't like is how pickups are so heavily emphasized. Pickup icons are scattered throughout the maps. Everything from weapons to shields to, yes, even vehicles are only available as pickups. This helps level the playing field so that even new players can wield a smart rocket or play as Vader or fly an X-Wing. But to me, there's a sense that these items should be unlockable like so many other weapons and items are. Players need a reason to keep playing, and leveling up to earn more items and weapons should be one of those reasons. And as for the vehicles, it would be nice to be able to spawn into a ship rather than have to find an icon and activate it. Oh, and remember to get to a safe spot, because when you've been waiting for a half an hour to find a ship, it really sucks when this happens. And if spawning into the map already in the ship is too much to ask, at least have the ships be in a logical place. These icons are just everywhere and anywhere in the maps, not just in the hangars where the ships actually are. It's hard enough to track these things down, and once I did, I never had enough time to get familiar with the flying mechanics because, well, I freaking sucked. There's also no eject and no parachutes, which, if we're honest, that stuff makes up some of the most random and fun moments of the Battlefield games. In this way, the Battlefront seems a little less sandboxy than the Battlefield. However, I can't emphasize enough that more first-person shooters need jetpacks. These things are super fun. What's also pretty fun, if non-canonical, is playing as the hero characters. These function almost like vehicles. They're overpowered and just really out there moments, but it's super fun to slaughter rebels as Vader while spitting out one-liners as they flee for their lives.
You will die by my lightsaber.
Heroes can also take a lot of damage, but they're vulnerable as well, so no one can dominate as a hero for too long. And taking out one of these characters is equally as rewarding as taking out an ATST.
Yes! I killed Vader!
In conclusion, is Battlefront 2 casual, as GameSpot says? Well, there definitely are casual elements, and it does pander to a wider audience than something like Battlefield, but I don't know if I would say it was casual. It's easy to get into for new players with very basic customization options, and the mechanics are simple but good. But as far as pre-ordering, just don't do it. I have confidence in DICE, but I'm not convinced that EA will do any better this time than when it released Battlefield 4 or any of the other major game releases it's botched in recent years. And if anything is being rushed to release, it's going to be a Star Wars game that's coming out just before the new Star Wars movie. No, I think I'll wait a while and see how things play out after release. So what did you guys think of the Battlefront beta? Let me know in the comments section, and as always, thanks for watching Dome Candy Games, because video games are like candy for your dome.